Hello everyone! Today we shall be covering our fifth lesson in our thermodynamics series, which is the second law of thermodynamics. The second law states that the total entropy of an isolated system can never decrease, and is zero if and only if all processes are reversible. Now there are several statements to the second law, such as the Clausius Statement, the Kelvin-Planck Statement, and the Entropy Statement. And we'll get to those statements later on in this video. Right now, we're going to cover what is a reversible process and what is an irreversible process. Well, a reversible process is where all parts of its surroundings can be exactly restored to their initial states after a process has taken place. This is also referred to as an ideal process or an ideal cycle. It's ideal because you want it to happen, but it's not going to. There's no process that is 100% reversible. There's no process that is reversible. All real processes are irreversible. This is a real process. Well, before we get to irreversible or real processes, let's discuss what an ideal cycle is or reversible processes. So here I have a piston. The gas expands and pushes that piston out, and then the piston comes back in. Now, in actuality, you're going to have heat exchange between the gases and the container, which is going to increase its entropy. You're going to have heat exchange between the surrounding area, which is going to increase the surrounding gases' entropy. So your entropy change is going to be greater than zero in actuality, which is a irreversible process. But for a reversible process, we are approximating what's actually going to happen. In this case, we're going to assume that there is no heat exchange between the gas and any of the surroundings. If there's no heat exchange, energy cannot flow, therefore entropy cannot increase, in which case the change in entropy would be zero. Now, like I said, a reversible process is an approximation of a real process. Well, a real process is a process that cannot be reversed. Like I said, energy exchanging between the heated gases inside the chamber and the surroundings. Or a more simple example, for example, would be a box going down a hill. Once this box is at the bottom of the hill, it can't go back up the hill unless someone physically pushes it up the hill. That is an example of an irreversible process. Well, now that a real process
Reversible and irreversible
process
processes.
we can do the second law statements. Well, the Clausius statement is the first statement, and it says it is impossible for a system to operate where the sole result would be energy transfer from a cooler body to a hotter body. Well, what does that mean? Well, you have this. If I have a hot body here, and I have a cold body here, I cannot simply just have heat go this way spontaneously on its own. That's not possible. Heat always flows from high to low, so I can have heat spontaneously go this way from hot to cold, but not the other way around. You can pump energy from a colder system to a hotter system, but to do that you have to put work into your system. That is how, but even then you'll notice that you're pumping energy into your system, thus allowing that energy flow. That is the first statement for the second law of thermodynamics, the Clausius statement. The second statement is the Kelvin-Planck statement. It says that it is impossible for a cycle to operate where work is delivered to a system while receiving energy from a single heat source. Well, what does that mean? It means I can have no such thing as a perfect engine, or no perfect cycle, or an engine, same thing. Well, what is a perfect engine? This is a perfect engine. If I have a hot body here, I can turn any heat from that hot body straight into work. That would be a 100% efficient engine. Everything I put in, I can get out. That's not possible by the second law of thermodynamics and by the first law of thermodynamics. If you recall, first law states that the change in internal energy equals Qn minus the work done by whatever that system is. Well, if I say there's no change in internal energy, which is possible, it means all my heat in equals my work. Well, that heat had to come from somewhere. It didn't just spontaneously exist. That is a heat transfer from high to low. So I have my hot body here. I have my cold body here. And I have some system that was doing work. I can have it where heat flows from my hot body to my cold body, and during that flow, I can get work out. That is the basis for all cycles. Now, the final statement is the entropy statement. Right here? Nope. Entropy statement. The entropy statement says that entropy cannot be destroyed. Even in an ideal cycle, it cannot be destroyed. You cannot have it where your entropy, your change in entropy of your system dips less than zero. Even in a real cycle,
Even in an
most
ideal
you can
cycle.
do is have zero change in entropy. That's from all the parts going back to their initial states inside the system and in its surroundings. This is the best you can do. And that's not even really what you can do. You can't have it where no entropy is. There's no entropy change. That's not possible. There has to be some sort of entropy change. So that is the entropy statement. So these three statements are used to define how we can use heat to get work out of it. That is the basis for any heat cycle we want to do, such as a car engine, your microwave, your refrigerator, your air conditioner, your heater. Those are all using the first and second law. Well, how do we use the heat cycle? How do we use the second law with a heat cycle? Well, spoiler alert, you use it efficiency. Efficiency. As stated earlier, when you have a heat cycle, you have energy flowing from hot to cold, and you can get some work out of that. But you can't get all of it as defined by the Kelvin-Planck statement. Well, the efficiency of your system is the work you get out of it divided by the amount of energy going in. Well, these cannot match because then that would be a perfect engine. That's not possible. But I can have it get very, very, very close. You have, for example, some turbines now where you're able to get an efficiency of 0.8 or higher. That's 80% efficient. So 80% of the energy you pump in, you are able to get out. That's very good, and they're always getting better. So, well, the heat cycles we'll cover, such as the refrigeration cycle, heat pumps, and just the general heat cycle, we will cover in a later video. This is just an introduction to the second law of thermodynamics. But there's one topic we have left to cover. Remember, I said there's reversible and irreversible processes. And you can use a reversible process to approximate an irreversible one, such as you can approximate a pendulum swinging, as the pendulum will never get back to where it initially started due to friction on the hinge and air resistance. However, it can get really, really close, so you can therefore approximate it as a reversible cycle. Same thing with pistons. But there's one thing you should note, is that you will always have real losses in a system. That's where this comes in. Reversible, which is an ideal, versus an irreversible process. Well, your work in your ideal process will always be greater than your work in your real process. Because like I said, you're going to have losses, such as heating up a pipe. You're going to have some sort of heat loss there. If you have that heat loss, you're going to have less work you can do. Well, if my work of my ideal process is greater than my work of my real process, then since efficiency is defined as work of your cycle divided by the amount of heat you put in, your efficiency of an ideal cycle will always be greater than your efficiency of your real cycle. Now, I cannot go into more depth on this right now because this topic will be covered again when we cover the different heat cycles, the heat pumps, and the refrigerators, as well as the different types of fluid cycles such as Brayton cycles. So reversible and irreversible processes will be touched on again in a later video. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.